Good morning, everybody. My name is Perez. Today we're going to talk about flipped classrooms. This seems to be trending right now. Many of you probably have heard the term flipped classroom. There might be some misperceptions about what really occurs. In fact, this isn't really a new idea or a concept. It's been around since the 1950s. Previously, people probably knew it as pre-teaching. A lot of people believe that this requires very little planning and preparation on the part of the teacher, and really students are just taking lectures home in the way of videos or other learning materials and kind of digging through it with really no guidance. But really nothing can be further from the truth. Although there is some exploration that students have to do on their own, these things generally are or should be carefully planned in order to make sure that there's the best learning environment possible. So let's look at these four components individually so that we can get a better understanding of what this concept's about. So this gives the opportunity for the instructor to really work with the learner and ensure that the learner understands the information, how to apply the information, and is really there more of as a knowledge validator instead of just somebody who is kind of repeating information. So it's this relationship building that is a really positive factor in flipped classrooms. Another important thing to consider when looking at how flipped classrooms allow you to personalize the learning experience is um, everybody talks about different learning styles, and each student may feel comfortable learning in a different way. Each student may have access to a different type of um, content, information, but really this allows students to personalize how they want to access the information, and they can expand on the information if something isn't clear. They can do some exploration on their own. So an instructor, for example, can provide a video lecture. The student then, when they have a question, can immediately search for answers on the internet. They can actually work, outside of the classroom together with other learners if they choose, in a more relaxed environment or a home setting where they feel more comfortable. They can rewatch information and play things back as many times as they need to, or reread things as many times as they need to before moving on to the next bit of information. So they're really able to learn kind of at their own pace and expand on information that they find interesting, and have some time to kind of process the information comfortably. Another key point here is that learners are able to then use that class time um, in that mentoring relationship with the instructor to review content and ensure that they're really understanding and exploring that content. So I think this fits into the way that a lot of learners are able to access information. Nowadays, when you want to know something, you can just Google it or watch a YouTube video on it. And that's kind of the fashion in which people prefer to learn. It's really hard to kind of just drone about something in a book for 3 hours if you have a 3 hour class in the evening. It's much more exciting and builds a lot of interest if you can actually work with the concepts that you're learning. So that brings us to the fourth component, which is project-based learning. So at this point, we have a mentoring relationship with the instructor. We have a personalized learning experience where students were able to access the information until they felt comfortable with it. That in turn helped them develop an interest or a passion for the material. And finally, we can wrap all of that up by allowing instructors time to engage with the learner to solve real world problems and make sure that the student is able to actually utilize the information that they have been exposed to. So I think an example that I can share personally is perhaps some people may relate to being in school in their early years with a tough subject, and they took their book home and kind of read through the book. And let's say in my case, it was math equations. So I would take the book home, I would have listened to the lecture in class, and then I would be assigned, 15, 25 equations, math equations to complete at home. So the problem was always you had to kind of recall the information, and mind you, this was kind of back before YouTube and everything, but you had to recall the information that you learned in the classroom and then struggle on your own to complete the application part of learning the information and solving problems with it. So in a flipped classroom, this is reverse. So you would uh, assemble the information, learn the information in a number of methods, and then you would go back to the classroom where the instructor would actually have time to work with you on applying the problems, applying the information to solving the problems. So it would be exactly reversed. And instead of trying to work through the problems on your own at home, you would then go to the classroom and get assistance from the teacher in a mentoring capacity to solve the different equations. So that's kind of the best way I can put this concept kind of into an example for you. So it doesn't mean giving up, all the lectures and things that you would traditionally have. Some of those just have been moved to a format where the students can access outside the classroom. Um, but you still will have all of the engagement going on, all of the homework in a meaningful way inside the classroom while somebody's present to take care of any questions and kind of ensure that they're getting a deeper grasp of the information. So I think that's it in a nutshell. Those four components, as you can see, all work together to ensure that the student is really getting an interesting kind of look at the information, and it's very different from how things were, let's say, when I went to school. So I hope you found this interesting, and thank you for listening.